There is a friend in your life right now who is slowly poisoning your spirit, and you have been calling it loyalty. You have been calling it faithfulness. You have been calling it love. But what God calls it is disobedience. Today, I want to show you something that most Christians are not ready to hear, but desperately need to understand. We are going to talk about 6 types of friends that God commands you to walk away from, not because He wants you to be alone, but because some friendships are costing you far more than you realize. And by the end of this video, you will know exactly who they are. Proverbs 12:26 says, "The righteous choose their friends carefully, but the way of the wicked leads them astray." Notice the word carefully. Friendship is not random. It is not automatic. It is a choice. And the Bible makes it clear that the wrong choice of friendship can redirect your entire spiritual life without you ever noticing it happened. Not every person who smiles at you is for you. Not every person who stays close is safe. And today, we are going to identify the 6 types God specifically warns about. Type 1. The gossip friend. This is the friend whose mouth is a revolving door, and everything you share with them walks straight through it. I want to tell you about a season in my life that taught me one of the most painful but necessary lessons about friendship. I had a close friend, someone I trusted deeply, someone I shared things with that I would never share publicly. Personal struggles, family situations, spiritual doubts I was working through. I believed our conversations were sacred. Then one day, I walked into a gathering of mutual friends and heard my own words coming out of someone else's mouth. Not just the general topic, the exact details, the specific situation, the private confession I had shared in confidence with one person, and they had shared it with everyone. The betrayal was devastating, but what hurt even more was realizing that it had been happening for much longer than I knew. The things I thought were private had been currency used to make that friend appear closer to me than others, used to fill conversations when they had nothing else to offer. Proverbs 20:19 gives a direct command about this. A gossip betrays a confidence, so avoid anyone who talks too much. The word is avoid, not confront and hope they change. Not give them another chance. Avoid. Because a person who shares your secrets with others will eventually share someone else's secrets with you, and that cycle of broken trust becomes the foundation of a friendship built on sand. If you have a friend who knows everyone's business, they know yours too, and they are sharing it. Type 2. The anger-driven friend. This is the friend whose life is a constant storm, and they want you standing in it with them. We all know this person. They are perpetually offended, perpetually in conflict, perpetually angry at someone, something, some situation. They move through life like a fire that never runs out of fuel, and they disguise it well, sometimes as passion, sometimes as justice, sometimes as just being real. I once had a friend like this. Every conversation was a complaint. Every encounter involved a new enemy they were fighting. Every meeting ended with me feeling agitated, stirred up, and carrying anger that was not even mine to begin with. I would leave their presence and snap at my family for no reason. I would carry their offenses home like unwanted baggage. Proverbs 22:24-25 gives one of the most specific friendship warnings in all of Scripture. Do not make friends with a hot-tempered person. Do not associate with one easily angered, or you may learn their ways and get yourself ensnared. The warning is not that they will hurt you directly. The warning is that you will become like them. Anger is contagious. And if you spend enough time with an angry person, their spirit will transfer to you slowly, invisibly, but inevitably. You cannot be the peacemaker God called you to be if your closest friend is a fire starter. Type 3. The envious friend. This is the friend who loves you, as long as you never surpass them. This type is the hardest to detect because they look exactly like a supportive friend until one specific moment, the moment you are blessed, the moment you are promoted, the moment God answers a prayer they were still waiting on. And in that moment, the mask cracks. I remember sharing some wonderful news with a friend I had known for years. I expected excitement. I expected celebration. What I received instead was a brief, forced smile, followed by a complete change of subject. No questions asked. No shared joy, just a cold pivot to something else, as if my blessing was an inconvenience to their day. Over time, I noticed a pattern. When things were difficult for me, this friend was the most present, the most caring, the most available. But when things went well for me, they disappeared, became distant, found reasons not to be around. And I finally understood their friendship was not built on love. It was built on comparison. And as long as I was behind them, I was safe to be close to. Proverbs 14:30 says, "A heart at peace gives life to the body, but envy rots the bones." If someone's love for you depends on you never exceeding them, that is not friendship. That is a cage with a smile painted on the bars. If this message is already showing you someone's face in your mind, brother, sister, please subscribe to this channel and write in the comments, "Lord, give me the courage to obey you in my friendships." Now let us continue because the next 3 types are the ones most Christians refuse to recognize. Type 4, the spiritually indifferent friend. This is the friend who does not attack your faith. They simply make it irrelevant. I want to be very careful here because this is the most misunderstood type on this list. I am not talking about friends who are not yet believers. We are called to love everyone and to be a light in the world. Jesus himself ate with sinners and spent time with people far from God. What I am talking about is something very specific. A close, inner circle friend who has been around the gospel, who has heard the truth, who knows what you believe, and has made a settled decision that none of it matters. And because of that settled indifference, every time you are with them, your faith feels like an awkward guest at the table. Something to be tolerated, not engaged with. Something you have to hide or minimize to keep the friendship comfortable. I knew a young believer who had a best friend like this. They had been close since childhood. But as his faith grew, the distance between their values became a canyon. Every time he tried to share what God was doing in his life, his friend would change the subject. Every time he suggested praying together, his friend would make a joke. And slowly, without realizing it, he stopped mentioning God in that friend's presence altogether. His faith did not die. It just went quiet. And a quiet faith is a shrinking faith. 2 Corinthians 6:14 asks, "What fellowship can light have with darkness?" This is not about judging someone who does not believe. It is about recognizing that if your closest friend makes your faith feel like a burden to carry rather than a fire to share, that closeness is costing you something eternal. Type 5, the controlling friend. This is the friend who does not share your life, they manage it. Control rarely announces itself. It creeps in wearing the costume of care. It sounds like, "I'm just looking out for you." It sounds like, "You shouldn't make that decision without talking to me first." It sounds like, "Why did you hang out with them without telling me?" And before you realize what is happening, you are living your life according to someone else's approval rather than God's direction. I once watched a friendship like this from the outside. A brother in our small group had a friend who needed to be involved in every decision he made, from his job to his church involvement to who he spent time with. If he made a choice without consulting this friend first, there would be guilt, manipulation, silent treatment, or passive-aggressive comments designed to make him feel he had done something wrong. It took years before this brother realized that what he was calling friendship was actually captivity. The friend was not supporting him, they were managing him. And the most alarming part was that whenever God prompted him to do something bold, start a ministry, take a step of faith, pursue a calling, the controlling friend was always the first voice to discourage it, not because it was a bad idea, but because it was not their idea. Galatians 5:1 says, "It is for freedom that Christ has set us free. Stand firm then, and do not let yourselves be burdened again by a yoke of slavery." If a friend makes you feel guilty for following God's leading without their permission, that is not friendship. That is a yoke, and Christ already removed that from your shoulders. Type 6, the friend who only appears in your season of blessing. This is the friend who loves your blessings more than they love you. You will recognize this friend by one simple test. Where are they when things go wrong? Where are they when the money runs dry? The ministry struggles, the marriage hits turbulence, the health fails. Where are they when you have nothing to offer except your need? I have experienced this firsthand, and it was one of the most clarifying moments of my spiritual life. There was a season when God blessed me in a very visible way. And during that season, my phone never stopped ringing. Invitations poured in. People wanted to be associated with what God was doing. But when the season shifted, when testing came, when difficulty arrived, when the visible blessing was temporarily hidden, the phone went silent. The invitations stopped. And I discovered something sobering about the people I had believed were friends. They were not drawn to me. They were drawn to my season. And there is an enormous difference between those two things. Proverbs 19:4 makes this painfully clear. Wealth attracts many friends, but even the closest friend of the poor person deserts them. And Proverbs 19:6 adds, "Many curry favor with a ruler, and everyone is the friend of one who gives gifts." These verses were written thousands of years ago, but they describe something that happens in churches and Christian communities every single day. If someone only calls when you are thriving and vanishes when you are struggling, they are not your friend. They are a spectator with a front-row ticket to your success. And the moment the show changes, their seat will be empty. Walking away from a friendship is one of the hardest things God will ever ask you to do, because it feels like the opposite of everything you were taught. Love everyone. Be loyal. Forgive endlessly. Turn the other cheek. And those principles are true, and they are beautiful. But none of them require you to keep your inner circle open to people who are actively damaging your spirit, redirecting your faith, or consuming the peace God gave you to steward. There is a difference between loving someone and giving them unlimited access to your life. Jesus loved the multitudes. He taught them. He healed them. He wept for them. But his inner circle was 3: Peter, James, John. Even the Son of God was intentional about who he allowed closest. Proverbs 4:23 says, "Above all else, guard your heart, for everything you do flows from it." Guarding your heart does not mean closing it. It means being wise about who holds the key. God is not calling you to loneliness. He is calling you to alignment. He is preparing friendships for you that will sharpen you, challenge you, pray for you, and walk with you into every season, not just the ones that benefit them. Trust him enough to release what is not his design and watch what he replaces it with. If this message has revealed something to you today about the friendships in your life, I want you to do one thing right now. Write in the comments, "Lord, I trust you with my friendships." That simple act of faith is a prayer, and God hears every word. And if you know someone who is being damaged by a friendship they are too loyal to leave, share this video with them today. It could be the word that finally sets them free. Do not forget to subscribe to Faith Unmasked so we can keep growing together in biblical wisdom every single week. God bless you deeply, my brother, my sister. Until next time.